Well, this video looks like shit. I know that much already. I can't figure out the fucking lighting with my camera in this new position. For some reason, like, the camera has a bitch fit because the background's too dark. And I don't know. It's not got manual mode. Maybe I should probably upgrade to something a little more, user-friendly for the experience I'm trying to make it. Anyway. Hello friends and welcome back to Daryl Does. I suppose that's how we're introducing these videos again. Yeah, I'm back. Today I wanted to do my thoughts, my short thoughts. Maybe I'm reviving that fucking weird little video series. Yes, my short thoughts on SpiderMan. SpiderMan PS4, the game that just came out a week ago. A week ago today, as I'm recording this. I just want to go over it, give you my initial impressions. I haven't finished the game. This isn't a full review. This is just my short thoughts, my initial reactions. I'm probably going to stick with that name, actually, now. Yeah, short thoughts used to be a different thing, but yeah. The creative nonsense. So then what is Spider-Man? Well, basically it is Spider-Man's answer to Batman's Arkham Asylum. You know, in the way that Batman finally got a really good, really exceptional video game, this is Peter Parker's version of that. Insomniac have made a game that has taken the Spider-Man character and elevated it beyond all levels entirely. Now, this fact has two sides to it, though. The first is that this makes Spider-Man a very, very good video game. A very exceptional video game. It is beautiful. It is sublime. It is the most perfect realization of what it is to be Spider-Man. On the other hand, however, it does make Spider-Man a little bit derivative of Arkham Asylum in terms of gameplay mechanics and things like that. You see, the hand-to-hand combat is very similar, even down to the button prompts. The intersplicing of gadgets into said combat is very similar. The collectibles that act as exposition or some added tidbits of information for those hardcore Spider-Man fans feels very similar. Even the stealth elements in the game feel almost identical to the way that Arkham Asylum implemented them. So to me, what's happened here then is that Rocksteady have come up with a sort of blueprint for Superhero games. They come up with a blueprint for superhero games that Insomniac have then followed to the letter, but replaced the Batman character with Spider-Man. It's very, very close. Uncomfortably close, almost. It makes things in the game kind of unsurprising. There aren't very many wow moments.
Wow.
Instead, what I find myself doing is seeing certain bits of the game and thinking, oh, this is kind of cool. I remember when Rocksteady did this about 4 or 5 years ago, and it kind of puts a little dampener on the whole Spider-Man experience so far, for me, anyway. And in some ways, that is kind of disappointing, because for me, then, Insomniac, instead of kind of reinventing the wheel and innovating their own style, their own approach to a superhero game, what they've done is they just kind of copied the guy who came before them. And that's a little bit of a shame. But, I must say, they have taken that style, that formula, that Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, remember that one? Arkham Knight formula, and kind of turned it into something that's actually better. Insomniac have actually produced a better superhero game than Rocksteady did. They've taken what Rocksteady have done and kind of caressed it into their own different take on it, and, made it a hell of a lot better than what we had with the Batman games. The combat they stole is smoother, it's more fluid, and I suppose that kind of embodies what it means to be Spider-Man in a way. And using the gadgets in combat also makes a little bit more sense. That mid-combo flow is a lot more fluid than what it was with the Arkham games. All you have to do is switch between the gadgets you want to use, and then they are mapped to a single button press which you can call upon during any point of any fight. It works a lot better than the way that Arkham Asylum made you do it with those arthritic hand contortions. They were fucking awful. They were fucking terrible. Like, why do you need to make me do that? Like, hold R1, press R2, then lick the touchpad and press circle. No, Rocksteady. No. Just no. And the stealth areas, even though they are pretty much a straight rip-off of how the stealth areas in Batman work, you zip up with your web to the rafters, you kind of stalk around the rafters and pick off your enemies from above, which is basically the Batman way of doing things most of the time. They actually work a little bit better as well because they are a little bit more dynamic. Like, if you get caught, it doesn't mean you're going to die because you have the ability to dodge bullets effectively, whereas Batman didn't. And there are also different ways to take out enemies. There are more options in terms of environmental kind of interactions. You can pull a crane that's hanging down to swing into some enemies. You can pull a chandelier down on top of people. You can pull a pot over with your web to distract an enemy. It is quite clever, to be fair, the way that they've manufactured their stealth elements. And another point, like referring to that, is that you can also use your gadgets that you use in combat in the stealth as well, and they kind of have like multi-uses. So there's one gadget where you can stick a web to a wall and it'll have like a sensor, and then when an enemy walks past that sensor, the web thwips onto the enemy and pulls them to the wall. That's how you use that gadget in stealth. If you use that gadget in combat, however, in hand-to-hand combat, you throw that gadget at an enemy and it will thwip to another enemy and pull those enemies together and web them up. Very clever. Very cool way of making every gadget useful in every situation, but in different ways. Something that hasn't really been done before and hasn't been done in basically what I keep comparing this to is the Arkham games, because that's the only real kind of... What's the word? What's the word? Come on. What's the word? The only kind of... Comparison? Comrade. Peer. Yeah, basically, I'm just going to keep comparing it to the Arkham games because that's the closest thing they've got to a competitor. I don't know. Fucking Christ. And even the collectibles that are dotted around the city, they seem to be a little bit more interesting, a little bit more interactive than the ones that were in the Arkham games. I know that you have the Riddler trophies in the Arkham games and there's certain like riddles to unlock. But with the Spider-Man game, there seems to be a bit more interactivity with it. You have certain labs that you have to set up and do certain tasks to kind of get them operating smoothly. There's also bomb defusal, like timed missions that are quite cool. It does a lot more in terms of fan service with the collectibles, I think, than Arkham, personally. Arkham kind of focused on one or two characters to kind of set up the collectibles. Mostly the Riddler. They focus mostly on the Riddler. But with this one, you've got references to Black Cat. You've got references to Harry Osborn. There's different characters like tied into different collectibles. And the best thing about these collectibles as well is how you actually do them. They're all in open play. They're all in the open world. And although they are quite boring and quite mundane sometimes, it's literally just going up to a backpack sometimes and just taking the backpack and seeing what's in it.
This piece of the Shocker's original uniform showed me how to protect myself from his blasts.
The real joy in this game comes from the open world movement, from the web swinging, from traversing through the open world, which I personally think is one of the most interesting ways and one of the most exciting ways I've ever moved through any open world ever. The traversal, the web swinging, whatever you want to call it, is fucking unbelievable. It's sublime. It's so goddamn beautiful and it feels so goddamn good and it looks so fucking good as well. The web swinging is just so well designed that you almost feel as if you're in complete control when you're obviously not. The game is obviously aiding you a lot in terms of making it look as cool as it does, but it does it so subtly that it kind of makes you forget about the design and makes you think that you're in complete control when you're obviously not. I mean, it will kind of veer you away from buildings sometimes, or it'll automatically go into Spider-Man running on a building and then jumping off the building in a really cool manner to make it look like you're in control. I think there's certain parameters within how that has been designed that restrict you from basically fucking up. It rarely looks uncool. You can't make it look uncool when you're swinging through the streets of Manhattan as Spider-Man. It's fucking phenomenal. Which brings me back to my point about the collectibles, which the collectibles kind of are like the traditional kind of Ubisoft open world collectathon like nonsense that you would normally get bored of. Like, there are radio towers, there are these shitty little backpacks that you just go up to them and press a button. There's the Black Cat things which you got to line up an image. You know, it's all very basic, very tried and tested open world fodder, things to do in the open world. But the swinging and the movement through the game just makes those feel like much more fun than they are. Because in some instances the challenge is like, how can I... Because you'll see where the collectible is and you'll think, right, how can I get to there in the quickest and coolest way possible. And then you end up doing that. In more than one instance, in fact, I have actually swung past my waypoint, past where I want to go, because I've just got so enthralled with the movement. It is astonishing. It's got to be played to be really understood how well it is. Now, on to the other really nice thing about this game, but also kind of annoying part for me anyway, the story. Yeah, frustratingly for me so far, I've played about 6 to 10 hours. Around that. It's got to be about 10. It's got to be at least 10 now. Yeah, probably around at least 10 hours. Half of that, I'd say, maybe a little bit more, is me doing the story missions. So far, for me, most of what has happened in the story has been spoiled by that one fucking trailer I watched. I already knew what was going on in the very first act of the story, really, and midway through the second act that I'm in right now. Yeah, I pretty much knew what was going on the entire time. The story is written in a way that kind of sets you up for a surprise, but it's not surprising at all because of the marketing of this game, which is fucking annoying. And I'm still waiting for one thing to happen that I've seen in a trailer. And I'm waiting on it, and I'm waiting on it, and I'm waiting on it. And my big worry is that that thing that they showed in the trailer is very late on in the game. That's my worry right now. And then that would really piss me off, because then the marketing, even though I've tried to avoid it, basically has ruined the story of this game for me so far. In terms of surprise and in terms of keeping the tension there. But in terms of the quality of the story itself, I'd say quite confidently that it is my favourite Spider-Man story outside of any other medium that I've read it in, be it comic books, through any other video game, or any other film, to be fair. This is a really interesting story about Peter Parker, about a mature Peter Parker, about how he's still 8 years on from becoming Spider-Man, still figuring out what it means to be Spider-Man, but also knowing so much now that he is, a force to be reckoned with. He's kind of part and parcel with the city now. The city are on his side for the most part. There are issues with Mary Jane. Mary Jane's in this as well. How his relationship with Mary Jane is complicated. His relationship with Aunt May is just absolutely gorgeous to watch unfold. It is such a sweet and loving relationship.
So, how are things with MJ?
Oh, it's she's it's complicated.
The game has done a very, very good job of taking these characters and making you care for them in a quite a deep way in a very short amount of time that I've played it. I care very much about Peter Parker. I care very much about his motivations and what he wants in life and what he wants in this storyline, I suppose. And that's nice, because it kind of translates to your actions in the game. It makes it hard to ignore the citizens or the police, like putting out a call for Spider-Man or putting out distress signals, because you feel, as Peter Parker would feel in that situation, you'd feel compelled to go and do something to fix a problem that's happening in the streets, be it a police chase or a riot that's broken out between some of the enemy factions in the game. You feel compelled to go and sort that shit out, because the game has done a really nice way in the way it's told its story to care about Peter and to care about his motivations and to genuinely care about the people around him just as much as the people he's trying to save in the city that he might not know. It's very interesting, very good. I like it a lot. And for now, I guess that's it. That's all I've got to say about Spider-Man. So basically, in a nutshell, in a nice little snippet of audio that I might crop out for extra content, like the fucking cook I am. Spider-Man, it is derivative of other superhero games that have come before it. Batman. But it is derivative in the best way possible. It takes what has been done before and amplifies it, providing a refreshing take on something that is tried and tested. And ultimately, what that adds up to then is a fucking phenomenal superhero game. One that is, by a long shot, by a fucking mile, much better than any other superhero game that's come before it. So there we have it. That is my impressions of Spider-Man, my short thoughts of Spider-Man so far. I may come back to do a full sort of review / critique of Spider-Man later down the line. But assuming that nothing else drastic changes right now, I highly, highly recommend that anyone with the ability to play games on a PS4 goes out and gets Spider-Man somehow, some way. Rob your nan, something like that. Just go and get the funds. Go rob a post office, sell your body on the streets. Do whatever you can to get your hands on this game. Because trust me, it's fucking great. Actually, maybe don't rob your nan or a post office. I mean, sell your body on the street. If you're gonna sell your body on the street, like, why not? You do you. You do. If you want to pay for sex or you want to buy sex, yeah, you go ahead. I'd buy SpiderMan first. Like, make sure you put all of your effort into getting this game. Yeah. Okay. So until next time, my friends. Until I upload again in a very, very long time.